What's the story? Welcome back to another edition of the GC Angle. This is number 5. So thanks so much for all the support and encouraging words so far. It really does mean a lot to me. A song I wrote back in, when did I write this? Back in 2012, called Wasting Away. So it's one of the first songs I wrote as a solo act, actually. Yeah, a couple of things. I suppose really what's interesting about this song is the three sources of inspiration. Inspiration came from Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, from Django Reinhardt, and from flamenco music. So you may have noticed that I don't really use a plec. I opt for my fingers. Now, I essentially have a plec on my thumb. It's a strong thumbnail. But why I like this is it allows me to move between strumming and finger picking. There's no stalling between the two. It's a seamless transition. Another thing that I work in quite a lot is this rhythmic flamenco strumming. Now, I don't do it in the most authentic sense. So if there's any flamenco guitarists and purists out there, please don't have a pop at me. This is my interpretation. But this flamenco style of strumming, it's basically rasgueado. And rasgueado is where you use your thumb and then you kind of drag your fingers. It's a Spanish kind of flavour, but it's also just more percussive and almost kind of like a drum roll. It's kind of like Rodrigo and Gabriela. So another source of inspiration for this track comes from the work of Django Reinhardt. Now, Django Reinhardt was a gypsy jazz guitarist. He played a lot in Paris. And yeah, I got introduced to Django Reinhardt by my guitar teacher. So my old guitar teacher, he was great really, you know, because he broadened my musical horizons. He introduced me to classical music, classical guitar, doing pop rock, ear training, and he got me into gypsy jazz playing. Now, it's not a genre of music I listen to much, but I learned a lot from it, and I've been able to work it into my own style of music. And I think that's what kind of helps me work my way towards something that's authentic and true to me. So yeah, Django's story, he actually lost the use of his third and fourth finger, or certainly his movement was impaired for these fingers due to a caravan fire. So yeah, he got badly burnt, couldn't really use his third and fourth finger. So he had to kind of re-educate himself. He had to create his own brand, his own style of guitar playing. To play his solos, he could only play solos and melodies using the index finger and the middle finger. That swing, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And the final source of inspiration that I drew from is Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, not only did I study classical guitar music with my guitar teacher, but I also studied music in university. So I did a 3-year degree in music and also my master's. I did a year-long master's in contemporary composition. So, like, I've been exposed to a lot of different styles of music, a lot of different approaches, a lot of different composers, and it's excellent. It gives me a chance then to, I suppose, put them into a blender and just see what comes out. And I think that's the way I want to approach music. Maybe it's a little bit too eclectic. I have been told before by industry people that you can't classify me, but with the risk of sounding pretentious, I don't really care for classification. I find it a bit archaic. I think a true creative person doesn't care about that. It's about the process, it's about the journey, it's about responding to what moves you at that time. So yeah, Johann Sebastian Bach. I mean, the music of Bach is so important. The bassist Jack Bruce from the band Cream, he drew a lot of inspiration from Bach when it came to writing his bass lines.
The first thing that really gathered me up was Bach, I suppose. You know, I got really involved in that because he, believe it or not, he is really the ultimate in bass players. You know, he really was the governor of all time. You know, his bass lines are just incredible, and I think any bass player can learn just about everything in conventional harmony that there is to know from that.
In a white room with black curtains near the station, black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings.
You'll also find elements of Bach in the music of the Beatles. An example is in My Life. So the Beatles asked George Martin to play a solo, and they asked him to do something that Bach would do. So he played the solo, and it actually sounds quite like a harpsichord. Now the reason why it sounds like a harpsichord, even though it was played on a piano, is because it was recorded at 50% of the speed, and then when you up it back up to 100%, it pushes it up an octave, and it just created this authentic harpsichord timbre. So let's have a quick listen to that. Another song that shows the influence of Bach is Blackbird. So with Blackbird, we have these kind of broken chords, like we've got a G and a B played at the same time. Now that's the interval of a tenth. The next chord on Blackbird is A to a C. If you count the intervals between A to a C, again it's a tenth. And we have B to D, which is the third chord that Paul McCartney plays. That's a B to a D, that's also a tenth. So you have this parallel movement.
When George and I were kids in Liverpool, we grew up playing guitar together. One of the things we would have was a kind of party piece, occasionally, you know, just to show people we weren't as thick as we looked. So we would play a little piece, and actually we got it wrong, but we played a little piece that was by Bach. And the thing we liked about it was it had a melody line and a bass line going at the same time. It was this piece. Really should go do 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 do, but we didn't know that bit. And actually, the bit where we went wrong is. I later took that, the idea that you got the bass line on the top line, the melody, and turned it into Blackbird.
What Paul meant to play was in fact this. So that is Bach's Bourrée in E minor. Right, so I'll show you the Bach influence in this song, Wasting Away. I actually played a part which is reminiscent of his jig in C minor. So I borrowed from that, and yeah, it goes like this. Right, so thank you very, very much for checking out the video. I hope you found it enjoyable and insightful. If there's any musicians out there who have any questions about the techniques that I'm using or are looking for compositional tips, by all means give me a shout. I'm an open book and an approachable dude. So yeah, thank you so much. You can contribute to these podcasts on my musical journey if you so wish, if you click on this link. And also you can check out my music on Bandcamp, on Spotify, on iTunes. So yeah, thank you very, very much. This is Wasting Away.
So what you gonna be